Hi, this is Anna Horford, and you're listening to Horford Happy Hour. All right, welcome to another episode of Horford Happy Hour. This week, I am joined by Liv Simmons, sister of NBA star Ben Simmons, and we're going to be talking family and basketball. How's it going, Liv?
It's good. Thank you so much for having me. I am very happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited that this kind of worked out because you're in the States right now and you're usually in Australia, right?
Yep. I'm usually in Australia, so for the moment I'm just out here in Philly trying to support Ben and get some family time in.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And there actually isn't a featured wine for this week, guys. I figured it'd be a good week to take off. I kind of need to cleanse, and actually, Liv is pregnant with a little girl. So congrats again on that, Liv.
Thank you so much. I am definitely looking forward to that journey.
Yeah, you've got to be so excited. And your gender reveal video was so freaking cute. Like, I loved it.
Oh, thank you. You know, I wanted to do something very extra. So I think I hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, you definitely did. I feel like that would totally be me if I were in that situation because I feel like I'm super extra. And yeah, it's definitely super cute. So everyone needs to go and check that out. And it's up on your Twitter page, right?
Yeah, it's on my Twitter feed and my Instagram.
Okay, cool. And what's your Twitter and Instagram?
My Twitter is LIVV Alice, and then my Instagram is the same with the first name, so LIVV Simmons.
All right, yeah. Everyone go check that out because it is super cute. And Liv, are you ready to get into this?
I definitely am.
Okay, cool. So just to get things started, do you want to tell us a little bit about your family history with the game of basketball and who played and at what levels and what teams?
Yeah, so all my siblings except my sisters, so there's six of us, we all played. My brothers, Sean, who's my older brother, he actually works with Ben. He just kind of played high school basketball. He had a few knee injuries, so that kind of stopped there for him after high school. Our oldest brother, Liam, he played in college. He went to San Diego Christian. He played there, and he's actually now a coach at Southwest Baptist, I believe it is. Yeah, Southwest Baptist. He's in Missouri. And obviously my dad, he played professionally for many, many years. He played in South America. He played in Europe and ended up in Australia where he met my mom, and they had Benjamin and myself. And, you know, obviously Ben plays, and I went to college for 2 years and I played semi-professionally back home, but kind of opted out of that to decide to start coaching maybe about, I'd say 5-6 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I never really knew the details of like your family background because I've had multiple generations play too. Our dad was in the NBA, and Al plays obviously, and then we have a brother John who's in the G League, and I played too, but I blew out my knee really young, and like I totally destroyed it, and so I never got the opportunity to play college or anything. So is that ever something that you wanted to do, was play professionally?
You know, it's really interesting because I always kind of saw myself playing professionally, and I guess the WNBA for me when I was a little bit younger was kind of where I wanted to go. But the older I got, I started, you know, I had a few injuries and I kind of lost that passion for playing, but I still loved the game. So that's kind of how I got into coaching. I was like, I really want to be around the game, but if I'm being honest with myself, I hate practice. So I kind of just stopped. I stopped at around 2021. I think it's different, you know, it's different for women. If you're not going to the WNBA or you're not playing in Europe and making a whole lot of money and you're not super passionate about it, you kind of have to figure out something else to do.
Yeah, totally. And I think that long term, I don't know if I would have actually played professionally or, even in college. I feel like at a certain point, I just kind of was playing to please everyone else around me and almost like make my family proud. And I feel like sometimes, like you said, I feel like you need that dire passion that you would have to compete on a competitive professional level. And I just didn't really have that.
I can completely relate to that because I was so nervous about talking to my dad about not wanting to play. I'd spoken to my mom about it and I was like, is he going to be mad that I don't want to play anymore? And she was like, no, I think he'll be fine. Like, you just need to sit down and talk to him about it. So I kind of did continue for a few years just based on the fact that I'm like, I don't want to let anyone down. But ultimately, you kind of have to do what's best for yourself, you know?
Yeah, totally. And did you feel like for me, I felt like people saw my height. I don't know how tall you are. I'm 6 feet. So
Same
people,
here.
okay, yeah. So people see that, if you're tall and athletic, that they, they're almost like, okay, so you're wasting it. And that always made me feel really bad.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, it's funny, and I'm sure you get this all the time, is people are just like, oh, you're tall, and they automatically assume you play basketball. And I felt for such a long time, I was just like, I might as well use it. Like, what else am I going to do? But I think for me, I've always loved basketball. I just had to find out what part of basketball I belonged in.
Yeah, for sure. That totally makes sense. And if it's, something that you love, if the game of basketball is something that you love, why not find out, kind of what works for you? So, yeah. Another thing that I wanted to ask, just because a lot of this episode is going to be kind of basketball family related. So, what are the most annoying questions and comments you get from being in a quote unquote basketball family?
Oh gosh. One of the most annoying things I get is, and I'm sure you've had this because you are an attractive girl. I'm sure guys like look at your height and they see like that your brother plays basketball. They're just like, it's either like, oh, we should play one on one or, oh, I would beat you at one on one. I'm kind of like, yeah, you probably would. I'm not going to fight that. Like, I'm not even going to have that discussion. But yeah, that's probably the most annoying thing is everyone is like trying to compete with you and you're just like not in that frame of mind, you know? I think being NBA family is just like a whole nother level of, annoying questions. And those questions go along with, oh, can I have this? Or do you think you could talk to your brother about this? Or I get a lot of, and I know you get this because I see it on Twitter all the time. You get a lot of like, oh, you should tell your brother to do this, or you should tell your brother
Oh,
to do that. And I'm like, to be honest with you, even if I did, I'm not sure he would listen to me. I was just like, well, the fans are saying that you should shoot more and I'm pretty sure you should listen to them.
I know, right? Dude, all those things. I don't get like the whole like guys challenging me to like one-on-one kind of thing, but I get the can you get this for me? Or someone I haven't talked to since high school is like, can my family have 4 tickets to this game? And I'm just like, you were a dick to me and now you want me to like help you and go out of my way, and like it's just annoying because people always do, I feel like, kind of want something from you. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the number one thing. And, there is always, and I'm sure you've got a lot of people in your life who you're happy to do things for, but there are people who will ask for stuff. And I'm just like, at what point in you thinking to ask me, did you really think this through? Like, did you really think that I was going to be like, oh yeah, sure. Like, let me just go to his house now and I'll get him to sign a bunch of stuff and I'll send that to you, you know?
Yeah, totally. And it's like, it's frustrating because you also get the people, I don't, you might, I get like random DMs, like on like Instagram and stuff. And people are like, my nephew's in the hospital and he's dying. Can you do this, this, and this? And like people put so much pressure on you because I get that they see us as like the closest thing to these athletes and these people that they look up to. But at the same time, like, I'm sorry, that's not what I was put on this earth to do, was to basically just kind of get my brother to do things for other people, and he does do a lot of things. It's just like a little bit more low key about it and stuff. So it can get really frustrating.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And it's quite interesting being from Australia. It's a smaller country. So I feel like people, and Ben, he's one of a few Aussie players, but he's got a pretty big profile back home. And I feel like people, because he's Aussie, they'll try and use that. They're like, hey, I'm flying into Philly for a game, blah, blah, blah. I'm from Melbourne or I'm from Newcastle or wherever it may be in Australia. And I'm just like, that means nothing to me. Like, you could literally be from France and I don't care. Like, I don't know you. I've never met you. And you don't want to be rude, but I don't think people understand just how many people are hitting you up because they know they're never going to get through to those guys. So it's just like you said, we're the closest thing to that.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing that really bugs me, I don't know if anyone's ever done this to you, but they're like someone brings up that your family is like NBA related or whatever. And then someone's like, oh, so who is it? Like, who's your brother then? And you tell them, and then they're basically like, yeah, not impressed. Like, I mostly watch football. And it's like, okay, so why the fuck did you just say that? Why'd you just ask me?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I've had that quite a few times. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to exit this whole entire conversation because I just like don't even want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, or they're like, yeah, my cousin played like semi-professional football and they try to compare with you and it's like you're the one who brought it up in the first place. I'm not even the one who brought it up. And it's just awkward and weird and I don't know why people do that. Another thing I wanted to ask you was, since we're like talking about growing up with the game and whatnot, did you have a favorite team growing up?
Oh my gosh, I'm totally probably gonna get like murdered for this, but yeah, I was a Lakers fan growing up, and I wasn't like a super Lakers fan. I was a Kobe fan. It was always about Kobe, and he just happened to be on the Lakers, and so it was kind of just like, I'm where, like, had he moved teams a lot, I'd be where he's at, kind of like a LeBron fan. So yeah. I was definitely a Kobe fan, which made me a Lakers fan by default. They were my team because I remember Ben and I, we used to have arguments about it. And now I'm realizing they were kind of silly because, he was a LeBron fan. I was a Kobe fan. I'm like, you can't just follow him around everywhere. Like, that's not cool. But when I think about it, had Kobe moved around, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. So have you met Kobe?
No, I haven't. And it's so crazy because he was playing one of his last games in New Orleans and I was living in Louisiana at the time, or I was in Louisiana at the time. I was either living there or I was just visiting. And I can't remember why, but I did not get to that game. And I was just so heartbroken because my parents did go to that game. And I have never heard the end of that because they know I'm just like, I love Kobe and that's someone who I tried to like model my game after, obviously not very successfully. I'm a huge Kobe fan. I have a lot of respect for his work ethic for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've met him and he is actually like so nice. And when I met him, it was his last season and Al was actually with the Hawks and we were like in the family room after the game and Kobe came out to talk to everyone and Al was like, yeah, these are my little sisters. And yeah, he was like super sweet and like I turn around and he and my dad are like speaking in Italian to each other and like, yeah, so just a super chill dude and I'm sure I'll get the opportunity to meet him. So yeah.
I'm really jealous of you right now. I just want to throw that out there.
And speaking of NBA and your favorite team and whatnot, which did you like more, college or NBA?
It's definitely NBA for me, just because back home growing up, I mean, college basketball is a little bigger now. Back home, just, with technology and being able to get so many more channels. But growing up, you didn't really watch or hear of college basketball. It wasn't a big thing back home. It was always about the NBA. So I think that will always kind of, for me, be a favorite. I'll watch college games and whatnot. And I do like the competitiveness of college basketball because, it's a different level, again, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going to be a fan of the NBA.
Yeah. And I don't know. I used to be so for college. And I think it's because, I mean, we all grew up in Michigan. So we have like Michigan State, and our brother John played for Michigan and Al played for the Gators. So college was just fun, because these guys are like, they're just competing and they're, sometimes NBA during the regular season can be like,
Yeah.
But the drive and like the fight that a lot of college teams have, I think that's really fun to watch. But now with obviously, Al's on the Celtics and it's a super fun team. So yeah, now I'm feeling the NBA a little bit more. Another thing that I wanted to know, and this is actually, this is funny because it's something that I've like struggled with a little bit. I don't know, but, would you ever date like a professional basketball player?
No, absolutely not. It's for me, I dated someone whose father's actually a coach and now he works in the NBA. So and I was 18. So I saw a lot, a lot when I kind of first moved out here, and that lifestyle, it's just like, it's not for everyone in terms of being a woman. There's a lot you have to deal with. There's just, it's a whole different level when you're dealing with professional athletes, and mainly basketball, because, those guys are on the road so much. And, my brother-in-law, he played NFL, and I know my sister, she struggled with that a little bit, but, they're married now, have a kid, but football, I'm sure you can relate. It's like a whole different ball game. Excuse the pun, but it definitely is, especially in terms of dating. But I don't think, my boyfriend, he plays like semi-professionally back home. And that's kind of about as far as I'll go. It's just not for me at all. I just wouldn't be able to handle it. Like you already know what I'm talking about. I could not handle dealing with that. Seeing these people at the games and not knowing who you're around, where you're at.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I've always had like this rule. I've never dated an athlete. Like, because I grew up with professional athletes in my family, we see a different side.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I don't know. It's just something that I've never been interested in, because I know how, 90% of the time how that lifestyle goes down. And it takes the right kind of person to be able to deal with that. And I've even had like girls who I know who are dating guys who, those guys' moms will be like, yeah, and if you want to be with him, you're going to have to understand that he's going to be doing this, this, and this with these, these other women or these other people, and you're just going to have to deal with it, kind of thing. And I don't play that game. So yeah, that's not something I've really ever been into either, which it does kind of suck though, when height comes into play. 'Cause like my man has to be taller than me.
Girl, yes, I feel you on that. And I think another aspect of it is, and I'm sure you can relate, is like if I was to date someone in the league and, for whatever reason, probably due to me, it just goes left, that like is definitely going to reflect on my brother. And I never want there to be like a situation on the court where something outside the court gets brought in and I'm the reason for that. So that would just be, I definitely swore off it after dealing with my ex, but I'm super sworn off it now because that's just like a respect thing as well.
Oh, for sure. And like, I mean, I've talked about how like I don't think Al would be thrilled like if we were to be into like one of me and my sister, if we were to be into like one of his teammates or something, just because like or just anyone in general in the NBA, because I mean those guys can kind of use that against you too. So like you just have to be careful.
Absolutely. And Ben would never allow that. You know, he's my little brother, but since he grew, like literally grew height wise, he feels like he's my big brother. So like he has to protect me, and I'm fine with that. Like if he wants to take on that role, that's all good. So he would just never even allow that.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing that really is just, it's not worth it is like so many jersey chasers,
Ugh.
like groupies who just come to the games, try to find their hotels. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's too much for me. And like when Al was in college, he had this group of like blonde playmates called the Horford Hotties, at the University of Florida. Yeah. And they would follow him around to games. And I remember after they won their second like national championship, the families were all trying to get down to the court near the stage where they all were. And these girls, I get like shoved from behind and like pushed into the bleachers, the seats or whatever. And I like look up and it's like two of the Horford Hotties like bolting for like the players. And then when I finally get over to Al, the girls are like around or whatever. And Al goes, yeah, this is my little sister, Anna. And like the second they found out I was a sister, they were like, oh my God, you're so cute. Like, I love you so much.
You're so
I'm like,
pretty.
I'm like, you just shoved me 3 seconds ago. And now you're trying to like be nice. What the hell? So yeah, I don't play that game. It just seems too messy.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, you know, it's kind of interesting because, you know, Ben, he has 3 older siblings, and I think we definitely just taught him a lot in terms of that kind of stuff. And he's not silly. And I think when it comes down, like I completely step back now. You know, I kind of was at the beginning like, don't talk to my brother. Like, leave him alone. But now I'm kind of just like, you know what? These guys are not stupid. They're definitely not silly, and they can see someone who's chasing them from a mile away. And even if, and it's like, I hate saying this, but I don't hate saying it, but it's like, even if that was what they wanted for however long, it's what they want for however long, and it's not going to last. So it is what it is. But I mean, you know, it's one of those things. I think every guy in life, they all definitely go through a phase, but I kind of have this analogy. I think of it like this. I think of it like if you love chocolate cake and, you know, you eat a whole lot and then someone gives you an apple and you're just like, oh my God, this apple, it tastes good. It's good for me. I'm going to stick with it. But every single day, someone sticks a piece of chocolate cake in front of you. You're going to eat that cake eventually. Like you're going to eat it, and you might eat it and eat it and eat it. And you're going to feel sick because the chocolate cake's like not the best for you to be eating every single day. And you're going to get sick of it, and you're going to go back to your apple. And it's like they've got to figure it out themselves. They go through that phase, they figure it out. And especially the guys who come from families where they have sisters, they definitely, they know a lot better. I just from my personal experience with knowing a couple of guys who have sisters who have been dealing with this for a while, they just know a lot better than some of the guys that don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, I just feel like no matter who you are, no matter where you are, you got to trust your instincts. And I guess you're right. It is their choice. So it's up to them. Another thing that I wanted to ask was just regarding social media, because that's something that you and I both partake in. And what are your rules like regarding social media in general, like trolls and, you know, as far as like feeding the trolls or clapping back or what's your general like guideline?
So it's kind of funny. The other day, my brother said that my occupation was a Twitter warrior. Um, you know, I actually had like a big discussion with this about my family because for me, I do use social media for different things, and I am trying to use it as a platform for a few other things. But what the conclusion I've kind of come to, first of all, everyone, like everyone has the internet, everyone has an opinion. I am super selective, not necessarily about who it may be, but it's kind of about what is said. Don't get me wrong. Some stuff I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. And I just want to like tear people apart, but I am super opinionated. I use profanities like they're just normal everyday words. So I think for me, I've kind of got this rule where I'm like, if my clapback isn't funny or there's no humor in it, just be quiet. Like, just don't even feed into it, because I kind of got to this point where it became less about defending Ben and more about just people getting to know me, and what I'm about and my personality and whatnot. Because at first it really was about defending him. I felt really protective. I'm like, hey, you can't say that. Like, hey, that's not true. But then it's kind of just like, this is the world we are now living in. And when you enter into this world, you're signing up for that, essentially. I mean, I personally didn't sign up for it, and it did take me a while to get used to it. And it took a very long time for me to figure out what I can say, what I can't say. You know, people are going to screenshot stuff like the moment you put it up. So you've got to be really careful, which I learned the hard way, which I'm happy to say. But I think for me, if my clapback is funny, I'm going to say it. If it's true, I'm definitely going to say it. But I don't want anything to come back and bite my brother in the ass. That's my main thing, is it's like, does this reflect poorly on not just me, but my family as a whole, I guess, because that's really the bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also try to keep that stuff in mind. It's really hard when you are protective and you care and love about your siblings. And just because no one else has to put up with this shit, you know? And
Yeah.
so it can be really frustrating. And I don't know. It's just, I try to ignore some things, but there are also some things that I feel like can't be ignored. Like when you take it too far, I've gotten death threats. I've gotten rape threats. I've gotten like just horrible stuff from people. And when I do clap back at them, it usually ends up in like their account getting suspended because they did cross a line. You know what I mean? So there is like some strategy in some of the things that I do. So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from with that though.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so crazy because I like to think of myself as being someone who is I'm quite witty and I'm quite a quick thinker, but sometimes I do open my mouth before I think. But I feel like if you're going to throw some shit out there and you're going to say some stuff to me that's just like crossing a line, you know what? I'm going to cross that line with you, and I'm probably just going to like sprint 250 feet ahead, and you can try and catch up, you know?
Yes,
And
queen.
I love my block button though. I like absolutely love my block button. And it's so funny because people are like, she blocked me. Like I got to her. Like, no, I just think like you're not on my level and I just don't have time to deal with this. And I don't think that the privilege of looking at my page.
Amen. Like that's exactly, I have so many accounts blocked, and it's like people look at it as like some trophy, like some prize. It's like, okay, yeah, you were big enough shit to where I was like, okay, I have to shut this person up because I'm not going to take any more time or energy out of my day to deal with them, essentially.
Absolutely. And people's number one clapback and their number one thing to say is just like, well, nobody would know who you are if it wasn't for your brother. Okay, and what? It's just like, and what? But you do. The point is you do, and this is where we're at. So like, let's take it from there.
Yes, I vibe with that so hard, and I completely agree. And it's like, okay, yeah, what's your fucking point?
Absolutely.
All right. So we both obviously have family members in the spotlight, and I just kind of want to get your opinion. Do you feel like fame in general is more of a positive or a negative thing?
Oh man, it's so interesting. It can definitely go both ways. I've really struggled with it. I've definitely struggled with everyone having an opinion, people thinking they know things when they're just like so far from the truth. It's not even funny. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I think it takes that kind of, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but it takes that adjustment period for you to figure out like, hey, stay in your bubble. Your family is your family. As long as you guys have got each other, that's really all that matters. There are going to be times when it's really, really hard. The fact that I can't even go to like the grocery store with my brother, or I can't, go to Walmart or Target or wherever it may be without getting recognized. It's something that's also a great like responsibility. So that's just how I look at it now, is he's taken on this responsibility, and it's the family's responsibility to kind of support him through that. So I would say there's a lot more positives than negatives, but there's also definitely a negative side to it if you don't know what's coming. And for us, we kind of, I wouldn't say we were thrust into it because, we did our documentary, and Ben's been pretty well known since high school. So it was a build up, and it wasn't just immediate as soon as he got into the NBA, but it definitely for me kind of hit me a lot when he got to the league, and I had to like adjust my whole way of moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you about I think the positives probably do outweigh the negatives, but the negatives I feel like are just heavier. Like it's so frustrating sometimes when people assume things about your family, like how you live, where you live, etc. Like, yeah, dude, first of all, that's none of your business.
Yeah.
And people are just always assuming things, and like you said, when you go out in public, like Al went to the park with his son Ian, and they had to leave because there were too many people coming up to him when he's with his 2-year old, and so I mean, we tried like walking around in Boston, and every like 5 feet it was like, take a picture, take a picture. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, it gets overwhelming, and it's totally what these guys signed up for. And, and they know that, and most of the time, they'll have patience and whatnot. But I just wish more people would kind of realize that these guys are human. And I had tweeted about this like a couple weeks ago. Like, they have good days, they have bad days. And you never know like when you're going to catch them, and you're not entitled to their attention.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting because people are just like, well, without your fans, you'd be nothing. First of all, they're not musicians, right? They're not out there selling records and doing that kind of stuff. They're out there busting their asses every single day physically. So physically,
Mm-hmm.
this is a job to where you don't know, maybe they went to shoot around, and maybe they had just like the worst shoot around they've ever had in their life. And they then want to go and do whatever without being bothered. And I've been in many situations, and, Ben knows how to handle himself to where he just, if he doesn't feel the need to maybe take a photo, like he feels bad when he doesn't take photos. And I know that for a fact, but there are times
Mm-hmm.
where he just looks at me and he's just like, I just want to get my mocha frappe from Starbucks. Like, this is all I want. Or he'll just be like, can you go get this for me? And people don't understand that physically, when you've got such a demanding job, you need downtime. And the only downtime a lot of these guys get is when they're at home. Because once they step outside those doors, and we know that a lot of people may, know the area they live in, or where they like to eat, or what kind of cars they drive. And you've got some crazy
Mm-hmm.
people out there that will follow you. Like, they will
Yeah.
follow you to a restaurant. They will wait outside for your car. And it's just like, no, you know what? Like, I'm allowed to say no. Like I have that right. And it doesn't mean they're rude. Like I saw a video of Larry Nance Jr. kind of walking past a kid. And to me, what that video said, he wasn't actually ignoring that kid. What I saw was a guy that was just zoned out. I just saw a guy that was zoned out going wherever he was going. And it's nothing to do with the fact that it's a kid, but it's just like, it's so hard these days with social media because everyone's got a phone, everyone's got a camera. And once you're caught, you're just, and the internet gets that, you're done. Like everyone has something to say about you and oh, he's a dick and yeah, he's not even this anyway, or he's not that. And it's just like, no, you don't know what happened before that. Like maybe his aunt passed away. Like maybe some shit went down before that we don't know about. So, and it's kind of, people want that life, but they really have no idea the responsibility it comes with.
Oh, for sure. And I don't know. I feel like it's also very situational. So if you see a guy who's sitting down eating dinner with his family, maybe don't ask while he's putting like a spoonful of potatoes into his mouth. You know what I mean? Like maybe don't ask at dinner.
Super inappropriate. Like I can totally like it doesn't make it. It's so weird to me when people do that. And it's like, cause I'm sure you've seen it. They stand for a while. They just stand and they wait. And like, it's almost like they're waiting for you to make eye contact with them. And they wait and they wait. And then they just pick the most awkward times. And it's just like, no, I'm with my family, man. And it's like, you can either wait or you can not, but it's just like, there's a time and a place for everything. And that it still goes with the fans and it still goes with taking photos and autographs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you just got to be like smart about it and just kind of try to gauge the situation, maybe gauge like what kind of mood they're in because they are human beings. Like you do not own them, you know?
Oh, exactly.
So kind of moving away from basketball a little bit because we've been talking about that for a while. What are some of your passions in life?
Oh, obviously basketball. That's huge for me, but I'm working on and I'm leaning towards becoming an advocate, for mental health awareness. That's a huge passion of mine. I've been pretty open about speaking on that. It's definitely something that I have found to be, it's very interesting. Like I want to talk about it to people, but you've got to pick a time and a place. And I'm working on, developing a few things to where people can relate to me and kind of understand where I'm coming from. But it's something that I'm so passionate about and something I really, really, it's just like literally to me, it's kind of like my basketball coaching. I want to put time into it. I want to put effort into it. I want to research it. I want to talk about it, kind of nonstop. Well, not to the point where it's annoying, but it's something that I definitely over the past couple of years have really tried to focus on because, for me, the saying ball is life, it couldn't be any more true. My whole life revolves around basketball, whether I'm coaching or going to watch a game or sitting at home watching NBA. So it's nice to kind of get away from that and be in a whole different environment, learning about new things. And I'm actually going to go back to school, hopefully, and get this degree in psychology and work on that because I definitely want to educate myself more around what everything means.
That's so amazing. And I've noticed that you've posted like a bit on Twitter about mental health and you're pretty open about it. And I struggle myself with anxiety and depression. It runs on my mom's side of the family. And I think it's something that more people should be talking about because it's often viewed as something that cripples you, and that people don't want to talk about, but ignoring it and not giving it the attention that it deserves, that only hinders us. I feel like as a whole, like as a society. So what advice would you personally give to someone who is struggling with mental health issues?
You know, my first thing, and I always say this to people, is you're not alone. And that's the number one kind of misconception about this, and the number one thing that people feel when they are going through it is you're not alone, and you definitely should talk to someone about it. It's really interesting. I want to eventually help get, you know, a mental health portion into schools. Obviously, it's something I would start in Australia, and who knows where it may go. But I always tell people, I'm like, you know, in school we learn about, okay, well, if you get a cold, this is what you do. You rest up, you drink your fluids, you know, hydrate, all that kind of stuff. But nobody tells you what to do when you're losing your shit. No one tells you what to do when you're losing your mind. Like, and you feel kind of, well, I know for a fact I felt crazy. I felt super crazy. I felt like, I'm like, you know, I'm this super outgoing person and I don't want to leave my house. Like, what's going on with me? So I definitely think talking about it to people, whether it's a friend, a family member, or even a professional. And it is hard for me to say that because, and you know, it really shits me in this country because there isn't a whole lot available to everyone, especially when it comes to mental health. It is a little bit different back home in Australia, but talking about it is the first step, because if you don't really know what you're going through, you really never know. Someone may have gone through that and they may have some advice that might help you. And I know it took me about 2 years because I was diagnosed with bipolar, and it took me about 2 years to really be like, okay, this is what I have. This is what I need to do in order to live a normal life, because you can live a completely normal life if you have these issues. Depression is very real. It's not just, oh, I'm sad, I can't get out of bed today. No, you physically get symptoms when you're depressed.
Right.
I know I didn't leave my room for 3 months, literally. You physically can't move. There's different levels of anxiety. And I know there are days when I wake up, and I'm a lot more open about it now. I'll wake up and I'll be like, Mom, I don't know what's going on with me today, but I just have this feeling in the pit of my stomach. I'm not feeling good. I'm a bit on edge. Like, I need to take it easy. So for me, talking about it has just helped so, so much. And the thing is it doesn't just affect you. It affects family members, and it affects those around you. So being open about what you're going through allows them to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, you know what? She's having a shit day, and today is not the right time to maybe bring this up or bring that up. And it makes it a lot easier on you. Because I know for a long time there, I was very in denial, and my family was just like, oh, you're crazy. You need to calm down. You need to da-da-da. And now when I talk to them, they get it. They understand it. And it's a lot easier for all of us to kind of coexist without me feeling like I'm in a family of, you know, 8 people and I'm the only one who is dealing with something. And I've helped, you know, I've helped a lot of people around me as well. So I think speaking about it is the very, very first step. And even if you're online and you want to talk to someone, because I know the internet is like so dangerous. It's so dangerous, but there's a lot of good tools on there as well. And there's a lot of people on there who do want to talk and who do want to help with their struggles. So maybe find something you can relate to, whether it's like a blog or a YouTube video, something that may help you figure out what your vice is, I guess I would say, and in a healthy way, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And it's something that I think that, you know, people are getting more comfortable discussing. And you had also mentioned like it's a little bit different in Australia versus like the US. So what are some of the just really big differences between there and the US? And where do you prefer to live?
You know, it's really interesting. Obviously, like, I'm biracial. So living in the US, it's a lot easier for me to relate to other people. But in saying that, the lifestyle back home, it cannot be beat. in terms of, you know, everyone gets free healthcare. Minimum wage, you know, at 26, I wouldn't work for any less than 27 to 30 something an hour. I try to tell people that all the time. You know, you go to the doctors, you don't have to pay. There's no copay. There's none of that. Obviously it depends what type of doctor you're seeing, but if you just need like a general checkup, you're going to a GP, it's completely free. So there's things like that. And, you know, it's so funny because I was talking to my mum the other day. We're at the grocery store. I hate your grocery store, by the way. Like the fact that I have to go to Whole Foods and pay like $100 is like just absurd to me. But our grocery stores, like everything's like a Whole Foods back home, like just your regular grocery store. And then across from that, you'll have like a fruit and vegetable shop. And then next to that, you'll have a butcher. And then next to that, you'll have the bakery. So everything I feel is a lot. I feel as though I guess I would say we're taken care of. And, you know, a lot of that has to do with our population. It's significantly smaller, but in the same sense, it's,
but it works.
Oh, it does. And it definitely coming over here, the way things are now, like I've come over to visit twice in the past, I believe it's year. Yeah. The past year I've come over to visit 3 times. And every time I get into like my 3rd week and I'm like, I want to go home. And I've never felt like that in my life. I've always been like, oh, I'll stay here. This is where I want to be. I can relate to people a lot more. But now I'm just like, no, I definitely want to go home. Like I like my life at home.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It sounds fantastic. Like, I want to come live with you.
You're welcome to come visit like anytime. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. I can't. I definitely want to. And so like for my last question, I just have to know, what do people over there think of like the shit show that is like the US and Donald Trump?
Well, it's so funny because I get asked by Australians, they're like, what's it like over there? But it's like a movie to us. And it's very crazy to watch, but it's also quite scary because I don't think everyone in this country, and even he himself, realizes how much it affects the rest of the world. It's very interesting because a lot of my friends, their number one thing is like, I want to move to the States. You know, everyone wants to go to LA. Don't know why, but that's like everyone's number one destination. They're like, I want to go to LA. This is what I want to do. But I've heard like less and less people say that since all this stuff started going down. And it's a little bit surreal for people back home. I get it a little bit more, but you know, I don't like turn on the news and he's not, you know, kind of the forefront of the conversation over there. So for us, we're a little bit removed from it, and it does seem a little bit like, oh, that couldn't possibly be happening. But it's literally like a movie to us outsiders. Yeah. It's like I leave CNN on overnight and I wake up with it on just because I'm like, I know some shit's gone down today. I'm like, I know it's like 7 a.m., but something has to have already happened. But that's not good. It's like it's really bad. And I think for anyone who knows anything, not about politics, not about government, anyone who knows anything about humanity just knows how bad what's going on is. And back home, people are like, well, you know, what can they do? Like, can't they just get rid of him? I'm like, listen, guys, it is not that simple the way the government works over there.
Yeah, it's so corrupt, and it's so just like, we are such a disgrace right now. And like first of all, Trump didn't win the popular vote. Hillary did. So it's not even the majority of Americans. It's more like the just kind of conservative, sheltered, scared white supremacist Americans who are really just, you know, gung ho for Trump. But honestly, yeah, this shit is really happening and Americans are really scared and it sucks. Like, I don't know how else to put it. I don't know how this even happened. We did not want this to happen. it sucks. And I have no idea what we're going to do over the next few years, but something's got to give, you know, cause it's a shit show. It's crazy.
It is super crazy. And it kind of, I was living over here when it all started. And I was just like, no, like there's no, like, why would he even run? And then it turned into like, oh shit, he might actually win. And then I looked at my mom, I will never forget. I was in Florida. I looked at my mom. I said, if he gets elected, I'm going home. I said, I'm going home. I was like, just bottom line, I don't want to be here. Like, I feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the energy of this entire country shifted. And it's so insane to me. I went and listened to Obama speak, when I was living in Baton Rouge, and he was one of the most inspiring, charismatic, just amazing people I've ever had the honor to be in the presence of. And I look at someone like that and I'm like, how the hell did we go from that? And I do say we because I am a citizen and I did vote not for Trump, making that very clear. But I'm like, how did we go from having someone like that to this? And it's very plain and simple. This man woke up and allowed racism again. And that's not just it, but that's one of the main things is before, there was racist people everywhere, of course. Like, of course, everywhere you go, there's a bunch of them in Australia. But the difference now is it's like, it's okay. If that's how you feel, it's okay. And it's not. It's absolutely not.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like it was almost, revenge on like conservatives just wanted their revenge of having like a half black guy in the White House, you know, for 8 years. And they were like so butthurt over that they were like, let's just go completely in the opposite direction and show Americans who's really boss. And, you know, and we just ended up with a fucking joke who can't even put together a coherent sentence. He can't even use proper grammar.
I've never someone, and I laugh because it's kind of funny, but my 4-year-old niece, uses more words than he does. Like I've never heard someone like, it's very bad. It's very this, it's very that. I'm like, you're very fucking stupid.
Yeah. Anyone making excuses for him, he's been racist, he's been sexist, he's been homophobic, he's been, you know, he's xenophobic, all of the above. And it's like, so if you're not offended, you're probably a white straight male or you fuck your cousin. You know what I mean? Like it's one or the other.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the two because I'm looking like I was looking at this rally and it was like women for Trump. And I was like, you have to be getting paid to be there. I'm like, because no one in their right mind would ever stand there with a sign saying that. Like that just doesn't even like, it angers me, and it angers me for the people of this country because he is making the rich way richer and he is just not giving 2 fucks about people that are low income. He's not giving 2 fucks about people that are minorities. He's not giving 2 fucks about people with vaginas. He doesn't care. There's no care in the world. And everyone should have known that. He's a businessman and he's going to run the country like a business, and he's doing that. And
like, it just doesn't make any sense. And I feel like the only positive thing that's kind of coming out of this is like the young people in this country. Like, okay, yeah, you revolted against Obama, like someone who, you know, was such an important symbol. So now we're going to revolt against you. And guess what? You're going to die off. And we're going to be smarter than you. We're going to make better choices. We're going to be more loving. We're going to be more open. And hopefully I think that's going to be where we're headed in the next few years. And so fingers crossed for sure about that.
Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers, but I'm going to be crossing those fingers from Australia.
Dude, I do not blame you. And I'm telling you, like, I might sneak over, like hop on a plane and just like hide out for a while.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Good stuff. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me. And I'm so happy for you and your little one that's on its way. And I wish you guys like the very best and all the good vibes and positive vibes in the world. And you guys can catch up on all of my episodes on iTunes, Stitcher, and the CLNS Media Network. And I will talk to you guys next week.